Have you ever wondered how a service like Netflix can stream to millions of people all at once? Or how some people can run the Windows operating system on an Apple Mac? Well, the magic behind it all is a technology that literally powers the modern internet: virtualization. Today, we're going to break it all down and see how it lets one single computer do the work of 10 or maybe even 100. So let's kick things off with a big question. What if you could take one powerful computer and, with a little bit of software magic, make it behave like 10 totally separate machines? Just think about the possibilities for your own projects, for huge companies, for the entire internet. What would that change? Well, for starters, you'd save a ridiculous amount of money on hardware. You'd slash your power bill. And maybe most importantly, you'd be squeezing every last drop of performance out of the servers you already have. And hey, this isn't science fiction. This is the core promise of virtualization. So how in the world does this actually work? Let's dive into the core concept of how you create all these different worlds inside of a single box. Okay, here's the official definition you'll want for your notes. Virtualization is the tech that lets you create a software-based or virtual version of a computer. It lets one physical machine host multiple virtual machines, or VMs for short. Now, the most important part to remember is that each VM is completely isolated and acts like its own independent computer. This isolation is absolutely critical in distributed systems because if one VM crashes, it doesn't bring down all the others with it. That definition's a little dry, right? So let's use an analogy that makes this whole thing super simple to get your head around. Just think of virtualization like an apartment building.
The entire apartment building, that's your physical computer, the actual server hardware. Each individual apartment inside, that's a virtual machine. And you know how the person in apartment 3A has no idea what the person in 5B is doing? It's the same idea here. Each VM is totally isolated from the others, running its own apps in its own little private world.
So, who manages this digital apartment building? Who's making sure every apartment gets its water, electricity, and space? Well, in the world of virtualization, all that magic is performed by a special piece of software called the Hypervisor. Yep, the Hypervisor is basically the landlord. It's the key piece of software that creates and runs all the VMs. It takes the physical computer's resources, its CPU power, its memory, its storage, and it carves up a little slice for each apartment, making sure every VM gets exactly what it needs without bothering its neighbors. Okay, so we get the what and the who. Now let's talk about the how. See, virtualization isn't just one thing. It actually comes in 4 main flavors, and knowing the difference is super important. We're going to walk through each of these one by one: hardware, OS level, application, and desktop virtualization. So let's jump right into the first and probably the most fundamental type. First up is hardware virtualization. This is our classic apartment building model. The Hypervisor builds a complete, self-contained virtual machine, a full apartment with its own virtual hardware and its very own guest operating system. This is the bedrock of cloud services like AWS, and if you've ever used something like VirtualBox to run Windows on a Mac, this is exactly what you were doing. Next, we have OS-level virtualization, but you probably know it by its more common name, containers. This one is a total speed demon. Instead of building a whole new apartment with its own plumbing, containers are more like these minimalist studio apartments that all share the building's main systems. They share the host machine's operating system kernel, which makes them incredibly lightweight and ridiculously fast to start. This is the world of Docker and Kubernetes. And listen up, this slide right here is the one you absolutely have to know for your exam. VMs are the heavyweights. Each one is a full, separate computer. Containers are the lightweights. They share the host OS and are way more efficient. This distinction is so important. Third on our list is application virtualization. And I can pretty much guarantee you use this every single day without even realizing it. This is when you run an application without ever actually installing it on your device. The app just lives in this virtual bubble on a server somewhere. The perfect example? Using Google Docs. You don't install it, right? You just open your web browser and it's there. And our final flavor is desktop virtualization. This takes that last idea and just blows it up. Instead of just one app running from a server, your entire desktop environment, all your files, your settings, all your software is hosted remotely. This is the tech behind those virtual computer labs you see at universities and those super secure remote work setups. So we've covered all the theory. But where does this technology actually show up in the real world? Let's take a look at virtualization out in the wild.
Honestly, it's everywhere.
You're using it right now. The massive cloud data centers that power this platform are all built on virtualization. Again, if you've ever run Windows on a Mac, you've used it. And for any developers out there, creating isolated sandboxes to safely test new and maybe sketchy software is an absolute game changer. Okay, I know that was a lot of information. So to make sure it all sticks for your exam, I've got the ultimate cheat sheet coming right up. Feeling a little overwhelmed by the 4 types? Don't be. To lock them into your memory for good, you just need to remember one simple word: HOAD. And here it is. H is for hardware, O is for OS level, A is for application, and D is for desktop. HOAD. Just say it to yourself a few times. It's seriously the easiest way to recall these 4 types when you're under pressure during an exam. So let's bring it all back to that very first idea. It's such a simple but powerful concept that just changes everything about using computers efficiently. Why buy 10 when you can make one act like 10? It just makes sense. All right, let's do a super fast recap. The 30-second summary. Ready? Virtualization, lots of virtual systems on one physical machine. The hypervisor, that's the manager. The 4 types, just remember HOAD. And it's the engine that drives the entire cloud. Boom, you got it. So, do you feel like a virtual master now? If you've got this down, I want you to prove it. Drop Virtual Master in the comments below. Let's see who's ready to ace that exam. And hey, if this explainer helped you out, do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button, because we break down complex tech topics like this every single week. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.